Um, so the original idea of this was supposed to be a few women who've participated in the classes, sharing with us some of the information that they've learned and how it's changed their practice. But I couldn't find anyone to be bold enough to share their teachings. But I do know that there are women in this group here who did come to some of the classes, and I really would love it if you could chip in and participate when there's something that resonates with you in what you've learned, to share it. Because I think the more we share this information, the more kavana we can have, and then it will enhance us. So that's the goal of today's presentation, 1 hour from 12 to 1. And we're going to talk about the lesson from Golshevsky, who's a Rebbetzin. She started and teaches in a women's seminary in Jerusalem, Shiviti. And she is very into the mystical teaching. She was able to teach us 6 classes that are all sourced from the Ma'ava Yabok, which is a 16th century Kabbalistic text. And it is the source for the minhagim and the pesukim that we say during taharas. And this group has shared how there's different minhagim and there's different pesukim that people say, and there's slightly different practices that go on, but the core of what we all do is the same. And she shared with us teachings from the Ma'ava Yabok. So that's what I'm going to do. I spent a while the last few days over my notes and going over the shiurim and trying to pull out things that for me have changed my practice and made me have a different head about what I'm doing. So I want to share those. And I would like people to unmute themselves and share what they've garnered from the teachings. And I hope that I give it over in a way that's helpful to everybody with God's help. So the idea of having a greater sense of kavana, the idea of understanding what we do, can enhance our practice. And it's not that we do any different, but we do it with a different mind. We do it with a different spiritual kind of understanding of what we're doing. So basically, it's all according to the Ma'ava Yabok and according to Golshevsky, is that everything that we on the do is very soothing and very comforting to the soul. We have the capacity to do great chesed. We bring the body and therefore the soul to the cleanest, purest, freshest. We are the emissaries of Hashem. We're the agents doing what we do so that God can make it happen, right? So nothing happens without God making it happen, but we do what we do, and then God finishes the task or makes it happen. Like the Mishkan couldn't get built without people putting the work in, but it's God that made the Mishkan actually come into fruition. So we do what we do, and then God sort of makes it all happen, but we have to do what we do. So we put the effort in and Hashem completes the work. So one of the amazing teachings that she taught is the idea that everybody knows that the Chevra Kadisha does chesed shal emes. And she did the Ma'ava Yabok to say that the chesed shal emes is another way of looking at that. And the common interpretation of that is that we do a kindness that can't be repaid. And if terrorists can't repay us for the kindness that we do, which is true, but she also gave another understanding of that term chesed shal emes. So if you look at the word Aleph Mem Taf, so the Aleph represents God. It's the oneness of God. And the last 2 letters of MS are Mem and Taf. So we, the living, are Aleph and Mace, Mem Taf. So the combination of Aleph and Mace, which is what the living are consist. Does that make sense? So we, the Chevra Kadisha, we, the living, who have a soul and a body that are tethered together, that is a miraculous combination of body and soul, it to happen. That can only happen because it's a miracle that it happens that way. That the Aleph and the Mace, what we are, and with the Chevra according to the Ma'ava Yabok, are the emes. Every living person is an emes. When we do chesed, it's the chesed done by the emes. So that's another way to understand what chesed shal emes is the chesed done by the emes, done by the living, done by the chesed. So we're the emes. And then following on from that is an idea that that when we do chesed, when we do this mitzvah, that Hashem, the Shekhinah, comes with us, that there's an idea, says the Mok, that the Shekhinah races after people who are doing mitzvahs, who are doing it. And so when we walk into the funeral home, we're bringing the Shekhinah with us. I don't know, I think that's crazy to think about. I don't know, maybe we all knew that before, but just to like really contemplate that, meditate on that idea that we bring the Shekhinah with us into the morgue, and the Shekhinah can then accompany this soul that's disengaging from its body, can accompany that soul up into the higher realms. And that we do that by entering into this space, bringing the Shekhinah with us as do this chesed. So I think that's a very powerful teaching. And again, if any to chip in, they have something they want to add, then just please do, and just unmute yourself and chip in. Because a lot of us have heard this before, but I just reiterating this idea that we are bringing. And then she also mentioned that if you look at the word Adam, man,
can I just ask something?
Please just introduce yourself, who you are.
Right, I'm Leah Gardner from Gateshead, England, and welcome. I've been involved in the Chevra Kadisha for a year and a half or so. There's two here, one that sees to the people, nobody should need to do it, who live in Gateshead, and then there's another one who sees the people who are from outside Gateshead, but the sort of outlying areas, and I'm involved in that one. So I was very, very, very new to it and had no training. And I met yesterday a person who's been in it longer than me, and lo and behold, she told me she'd had no training either. So for me, it's really, I mean, I learned on the job. I know virtually nothing about what I'm doing, except what I could glean a little bit online. So I was really glad to find the group. I'd just like you to just to repeat which sefer she's learning and who the person is who wrote this sefer, if that would be okay.
It's called the Ma'avaya Bok. The
Ma'avaya Bok.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, Leah. I'll send you it to you.
Okay, great.
I'll send it to you.
And he lives. And he lived when? When did he
16th
live?
century Modena in Italy. He's a Kabbalist.
Okay.
I'll send you everything you need to know about that.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm Toby. I just wanted to say, I've been on the Chevra Kadisha for over 35 years, and it's on the job training. The people that are on for a longer time, that's who you learn from, and that's how you pick up everything. So it's not a thing that you have to study. You just have, it's on the job training.
Right. Well, definitely doing is on the job training, but maybe some of the mystical understandings behind what it is that we're doing, we have to learn it, because I don't know. I didn't pick it up. I didn't know any of stuff about being an MS or bringing the Shekhinah into the morgue with us. I think that for me, that makes me feel like the weight, the gravitas, like a little bit more, not that you don't realize like how important that you're doing, but it kind of adds another level. Anyway, for me, it did. So that's sort of setting the stage. According to the Toma Devora, the Chevra Kadisha's taking care of the dead is a chesed that's like I think there's 8 forms of chesed that the Toma Devora elucidates. And caring for the dead is the 6th form of chesed that's described there. And so what we're doing is we're caring for the soul as we're caring for the body. So again, it's all according to the Ma'avaya book. I'm just relaying what Rebbetzin and Golshevsky taught us. It's an analog. When we take care of things down below, it has an analog up above. So when we take care of the body, we're taking care of the soul. When we clean the dirt off a nifteres, we're cleaning the dirt off the soul. When we say when we do the purification, so we're doing a cleansing and then we're doing a tahara, right? We all know that, but we're cleansing the soul. When we say tahorahi, it's like a mikveh attendant who's declaring the woman coming out of the mikveh tahor. And it says there's a bas kol up on high that says that declares her tahor. God's making the person tahor. God's making this niteris tahor. But we declare her tahor. We're bringing and doing this amazing chesed of through our intentions and through our kavanah and through our prayers and through our chesed and through the way in which we think and our intentions, we are affecting the cleansing of the soul above by what we do with the body down below. So that's kind of like the way the Mahavok lays it out. So the care of the body is about caring for the soul. I'll send you my notes, by the way. Have in mind that the soul comes from the highest place. It says it's hewn from the heavenly throne and comes down, and it's described as it's like being poured out like into a menorah. There's a description in the Ma'aveh Yabok of a menorah and the oil that flows down. And it's like the soul comes into the body like this menorah. And we are all considered tzaddikim. And the soul rises back into the highest place, back to its source. The soul, as we know, and the neshama is pure. But the nefesh, the lower aspects of the soul, says the Ma'aveh Yabok, become encrusted. And we get the possibility of trying to cleanse the nefesh. Okay. The soul in a living person purifies the body all the time. When us, the living, we have a soul, and it's apparently the way it's described is that the soul purifies our body all the time. We are constantly being purified by the presence of the soul inside our vessel, our garment, our body. The soul is being shining bright light into our bodies and cleansing us all the time. When the soul leaves its body, it leaves a vacuum. There's a vacuum in the vessel because the soul isn't shining that light of purification into the body anymore. And the soul, we understand, is still attached to its body, close to its body, hovering over its body, which is why we don't pass objects over the body. One of the understanding, we don't pass things over because the soul is there. And she said that the lower aspects of the soul and the nefesh is actually still attached to the body. I don't quite know what that means. But then when we wash the body, before the tahara, when we do the washing, that the washing allows the nefesh part to untether itself from the guf, that there's a separation that happens from the washing. So the washing is a comfort to the soul. The washing is beginning to allow the soul to separate, nefesh to separate from its body even more. So without the purification aspects and power of the soul inside its body, the soul is a vacuum. The body has now a vacuum which can be inhabited by negative spiritual forces. And she said that, like if somebody's hung, please God, nobody should ever be hung, but hanging people have a greater proclivity to being taken over by these. That's why we have to take people down. We have to cover them, light the candle. We have to say Pesukim, we have to say Tehillim, we have to do all these things as a protective envelope around the Nifteris. The idea that what we do in this whole Chevra Kadisha work that we're doing is creating a protective envelope around the Nifteris, which prevents these negative forces from taking hold inside the guf. So all these things that we do, the sheet, covering the lady, sometimes we walk in completely covered with a sheet. It's like run around and get a sheet, put the sheet on her, because that's protecting her from the negative forces, the candle. All of these things are important. Having somebody say Shmirah, the saying Shmirah and Sukkim and saying Tehillim and all of these things protect the body from any negative that can come. I also heard, just as a sidebar comment, that it's very comforting to the soul. And actually, it's also what she said, that it's very comforting to the soul when we walk in. When we walk in and the soul knows that we're all here to take care of her. We're all here to look after her. We're all here to cleanse her. We're all here to accompany her on her journey. She, the soul, is comforted by our presence. Just being there is comforting. And I think that's, what's the word? important as the COVID days where we weren't doing a full Tahara, many of us, most of us, I think, but just going into the room and being there and saying the Pesukim and doing the bits that we were allowed to do, that was great comfort to the soul. The soul has great comfort from our being there, which I think is a very powerful lesson. So as the same way I mentioned about the emes, the way she described emes, Aleph Mem Taf, she also described an Adam, as we know, is who we are. So it's an Aleph, Dam. So there's the soul, the godly part of us, and Dam, the blood. And maybe that's part of the reason why the blood has to be buried, because the blood is like the guf. It's part of the guf. It's part of the soul. It's part of the construct of Adam, Aleph, Dam, godliness and physicality and blood. Okay, so the soul in the living person purifies the body all the time. It shines a light into the body, which purifies and animates it, which gives us a great sense of who we are. Like sometimes when I wake up and I say Elokainu Shema every morning, I'm thinking, I have this soul and it's purifying me all the time. Like all of a sudden you start thinking differently about what your soul is doing to your body. It's purifying your body in a way that is very, very powerful and very important, and that God is miraculously creating us this soul and body construct all the time. So the vacuum that's created and everything that we do creates this protective field. So every body part is created b'tselem Elokim. We know we're created b'tselem Elokim, and the idea that the Ma'avar Yabok brings out is that the construct of our body represents the sphere, 9 channels for energy in the world. The spheres are how our body is constructed. The 3 higher ones in our heads, and then the lower ones from the neck down. The right side is Chesed, the left side is Gevura. This is probably information that we're all familiar with, but that when we do the washing, when we do the everything, when we do the dressing, everything, it's all done head first, right side, left side, because it's Chesed over Gevura. It's the, so if everybody could just mute themselves, I don't know, apparently there's some background noise, but, and anybody wants to chime in, again, please unmute yourself and chime in. So the B'Tselem Elokim is the construct of the body. And so again, the body is an analog for the 10 spheros. And when we wash each part, when we watch each body part, again, says the Ma'avar Yabok, we are enjoined to think about and envision the perfection of that body part. So when we wash the head, and we understand that the head is a repository of our thoughts and our intentions and our connection to God is through mind, that we project onto the Nifteres that she perfected that part of her body, that she had a perfect intention, or of course not true, but that's our purpose. Our purpose is to bring the Nifteres as to a higher place as possible. So when we wash her head and we have an idea that her head is filled with all good thoughts, that her eyes, we say this pasuk about the eyes, that the eyes only saw good things and only had an ayin tov, and only had a good eye, and that the cheeks and the mouth only said good words, and that the ears only heard good things. And like we elevate the body through our intentions, through the pasukim that we say that are all about the beauty and the perfection of each body part. As we go down the body, as we talk about the arms, the actions of the arms, that the arms did good, that the legs ran to do good, that the torso had only good intentions and only good feelings for other people, and so on. And again, washing the body is something we've all been doing, and it's something we know is important. But there's 2 aspects to the kavana, says the Ma'avar Yabok. One is to perfect that body part. This body part is perfect. This lady had the perfect intentions. She had the perfect ayin tov. She had the perfect hearing of only good things, of speaking only good things, only lashon tov. Like all of these things that we have the intention that affects what we're bringing up. And that when we wash the shmutz, when we take the dirt off, that the dirt is an analog. So she would stress this over and over again, that the dirt is an analog, not a symbol, an analog for the shmutz that covered the nefesh. The neshama is pure and goes up high, but it goes up to wherever the heavenly throne. But the lower aspects of the soul got encrusted with dirt, and our physical cleansing is an analog to the spiritual cleansing. So again, it makes it feel like that much more important. Sometimes we might have a body where the skin is very, what's the word I want? Kind of fragile. And like you have to make a decision. Are you going to keep rubbing the dirt off? Maybe there's lotion and you want to get the lotion off, but at the same time, you're going to take the skin off and you're going to make her bleed. So I don't know. I think about it differently now. Like I want to get the dirt off, but I don't want to make her bleed. And like how important it is and how you make that decision to stop rubbing, but yet knowing that you want to get the dirt off because that's an analog for the dirt on her soul. So I don't know. I think about that. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in.
Alyssa,
I think that's, yes, please, Elaine, go.
So sometimes we'll have a situation where if we put the face covering on first, and then we're rolling to continue to dress, that face covering is going to get soiled. And so we will sometimes put the face covering on last. And so I'm curious to know other people's practices if they ever sort of do the dressing a bit out of order for practical reason, and
we do.
Whether that's an issue.
We do. I don't know
if we want to. In Los Angeles, we stuff them out with web roll. If there's anything in the cheeks, if you put web roll into the cheeks, usually it won't soil. And there's always, whenever we turn, we make sure there's a towel over the face, so it doesn't soil. So we never go out of order in that way because we're basically kind of protected, so that it doesn't soil. I mean, it'll happen once in a while. So then we have hydrogen peroxide spray that really does a good job.
We sometimes use web roll, but we hesitate to do that. I've been told that if someone is then looking at the nifteret after she's been prepared, can be distressing for the family to see the.
So we take that.
We take it out.
We take it out once the body is finished, and we're not turning her. Usually, nothing will come out of the mouth if she's not being turned. The mouth and nose actually. But if we do think that something's going to come out, we put a very thick pillow because I think it was from Rabbi Zone that if the neck is like kind of the chin is down, it'll have less tendency to come out of the throat.
Okay, great, thank you. Beautiful. Okay, let's keep moving down the order, and then we can have lots of questions at the end. I feel like oh, sure. Donna, where are you?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Introduce yourself, please. Great.
I'm Donna Kuttner. I'm on the far west coast of the United States, Northwest. And I have a question about the family viewing. We've never done that. Once the body is received at the funeral home, the family is no longer involved.
Right.
Only one instance that I know of, there was a terrible murder and an autopsy, and the funeral home fixed up the nifteret so that a sister could view her, and it was very upsetting because some things were done that shouldn't have been done. But we never take that into consideration when preparing the deceased for burial. The family isn't there anymore.
Right.
I don't know what circumstances would have to arise for someone to be looking at the body, but one of the other women who has been on the Chevra Kadisha with me had to identify her son. He died in the States. She had made Aliyah, and she had to identify the body, I think, at the airport.
In California, you have to have somebody identify the body. It's law.
Yeah.
So before burial, there has to be one person that it identifies.
Yes, I had that in sorry, may I say something? I had that also in Eretz Yisrael. My sister's husband passed away and was nifta, and it was a very emotional time, and she had family, children, but I was asked to identify because I was very close with my sister, and I was trying to comfort her and hold her up, and I was amazed that they asked me to identify my brother-in-law. That was in Eretz Yisrael with the Chevra Kadisha, a holy. Really, you can't get more. Well,
man, but it was a very, very orthodox, it was a Haredim, wonderful tzaddikim. And I was most amazed, like me, and yes, so I'm interested in that. May I ask you another question, please, Elisa? When you're talking about Tomer Devora, to me, that's Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. That's the Ramak, and I'm hearing something else. Maybe it's my hearing. I'm hearing you saying there's something says, and I can't hear the Rashi Tevot.
Ma'avaya Bok is a Kabbalistic text that Rabbi Bacharia wrote.
Can you say it slowly?
I'll send it all out to you.
I've heard it Yabok, but I couldn't hear what the first word you were saying. I'm sorry.
Ma'ava. The word
Ma'ava. Oh, Ma'avar Yabok, crossing the river Jabok.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. I couldn't hear what you were saying.
No problem. All right. I'm going to keep going because I've some more things I want to share with you all before we get to and then we can make it all general questions about our practice. But
if I could just add to the identifying,
where are you?
I'm in New Jersey. We've had one time where somebody was flown in and they wanted to identify. They ended up not doing it, but we found out the proper Jewish name because the son was there to identify. And we were planning on letting him in, getting her all prepared and then letting him come in and see her and identify her, not, or.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Keep going. Okay, so the idea that the soul is now not shining its purifying light into the body, and the Pesukim, we say, shine a holy purifying light into the body. So I think that's a powerful thing. By our intentions, by our thoughts, we are affecting the protective envelope. We're creating this protective envelope to protect her from any negative spiritual force take hold in the vacuum that's created by the soul having left. So the soul is stuck until burial, we know that, staying close to its body, and the neshama has awareness like a dream. God keeps souls and bodies together in life, which doesn't make sense, and it's miraculous. Keeping us alive is a miracle. The soul is sensitive to the body and how it is treated. The soul is sensitive to the body and how it is treated. The soul and body parallel each other. When we care for the body, we are caring for the soul. It's an analog, not symbolic. Everything we do in the physical realm is an analog in the spiritual realm. The soul of the nifteres is in distress over its body, especially if the body is severely damaged. We have great power to pray for the nifteres and bring her to a place of purity by our actions and our thoughts and our kavana and our prayers. We have great power to elevate her. Not only do we ask for mechila, but we also ask for her mechila from God. We pray on her behalf. We do spiritual work for her. Again, we live in the body. We're not ever accustomed to a corpse. We use our experiences and as an opportunity to do our own teshuvah. The Chevra Kedisha, says the Ma'ava Yabok, should always be in a state of teshuvah, that we who have the honor of doing this work should use it to help us be in a state of teshuvah. We are humbled by death, and we should use that for our own teshuvah. So the body and the character traits, the body and the character traits of a person, of us, of who we are the garments of the soul. And we, the Chevra Kedisha, maybe this is repetitive, but we, the Chevra Kedisha, are taking off the filthy garments and putting on shining garments. And that's one of the Pesukim we say, Zechariah, who had a vision of Yehoshua, the high priest, and Yehoshua had sons who intermarried, and he had some teshuvah to do for that, for his sons marrying out. And the vision of Zechariah, there's a pasuk that many of us say, is that he sees the Yehoshua, the high priest, with filthy garments that are removed and replaced with shining garments. And that's the pasuk we say, we're removing the filthy garments and putting on shining garments. We're putting on the white taruchim. We're taking off the shmutz. We're taking off the dirt. We're taking off the filthy garments and replacing them with shiny garments. The filthy garments are the dirt, body, and the unperfected character traits which we wash. The dirt is the body's attachment to this world. The dirt is the body's attachment to this world. Washing is a turning point. So even like we think maybe, I don't know, I used to think that the main thing was the tahara, but the Ma'avaya box says, no, the washing is a turning point. The washing is important. It in itself, the washing brings a relief. We take off the dirt to bring purity, to allow it to start the disengagement of the nefesh from its body. And at the resurrection, the garments will be replaced with shining garments. So we use water to cleanse and purify. The water removes the tumor, achieves cleansing, the healing waters of Teshuvah. We wash every body part, and the Pesukim we say recognize the holiness and the potential of the body, which is created b'Tselem Elokim. We said this before. The soul will go up to be replenished and come back down and re-enter the purified body at the resurrection. When we wash the body, the soul starts to release. Washing takes off the negative spiritual forces. So tahara means to purify, to bring a shining light. So pouring water is us bringing water. We're the emissaries, we're the shliach of Hashem, bringing the water to cleanse, to bring life, to bring vitality, to bring purity. So Rebbetzin Golshevsky gave a class where she's about water. So I'll just briefly size I think it's six different attributes of water and why water is so important for us to be using. So water is kindness, is chesed. And water is about expansion and flourishing. In order for things to live, there has to be water. Water brings life. Water is also a plural. You never have like one water molecule. It's always plural. Maya means flourishing, physicality, materialism. So we're bringing life. We're bringing water that represents life where there's death. That's what we're bringing. We're bringing water that represents life into a place of death. We're bringing waters of God shedding, flowering, flooding waters onto the Nefteris. And the person is in a deep sleep. The person is like, when we go to sleep, we say it's a 60th of death when we sleep and the soul comes back down. Well, the person is in this deep, deep, deep sleep. The soul is left for real. And it can't do anything for themselves. So we, the Cheved Kedisha, who are awake and can still hold and be connected to the waters, we protect the Nefteris with the waters of Das. The water is also referred to as knowledge of God. So where the Nefteris has lost their capacity to have a Das of God in this world, we have the waters of Das, of Torah knowledge. We bring waters that represent knowledge of God to the Nefteris. So again, so waters are life, waters are knowledge of God, which we bring to the Nefteris. Waters are a source of restoration, of dissolution and rebirth. We wash off the shmutz which has accumulated, and the obliteration of one form and the creation of a new form through the water. Rebirth, water as an element that brings rebirth. That's the third aspect of water. Fourth, water is represented to Shuvah, much easier with the dead. As soon as the soul leaves the body, everything is clear, not encumbered by the physicality of the body. The soul leaves, goes up into the higher realms, and we pour water to help them do Teshuvah. All the nonsense of the world is over. In the end, let go of this world. And the waters of Tahara are the waters of Bina flowing over them, which helps the process of Teshuvah along. So I don't really understand that, but this is what she was saying. Separate from the world. In this world, it's hard to do Teshuvah, but the waters bring a Teshuvah. That by the flow of water, we're bringing Bina, we're bringing rebirth, we're bringing the waters of Chesed, and we're bringing the waters of life. The place of life is because the Shekhinah is. We are bringing life to a place where there is death. The living Cheved Kedisha come to a place where there's a deficit of life, and we're force of life with us. The living Cheved Kedisha come to bring life, water, Torah, to a place where there's no more life, where the capacity to do mitzvahs is finished. And we're still doing the mitzvahs, but the dead have left and gone, and left behind in this world. And in Mishlei, we learn that the Torah goes with you when you are dead. The Torah is in the way we bring the water to the Nifteris. So she's still connected to Torah through the waters that we throw on her. I can't expound upon that, but that's what she told us, that the Torah is with us after death and during resurrection through the waters of the das of Torah, the das of God, through the knowledge of Torah is in the water. And finally, did you want to say something, Rena? No. And the water
can I say something?
Yes, please.
Sorry, can I just say something about that?
In Denver, please.
Hi, everybody. So I was just listening to a shir by Rabbi Manis Friedman last week, and he was talking about when the child is in the mother's womb and learns all the Torah and goes through the birth canal to come out into this world, it's a very dark place. Like Gam Ke'elech Begeitz Halmavas, like we're in a very, very dark place, and it's because we're losing the Torah that we learned in the embryo, in the womb, and it's coming out into the world. And then in death, the opposite is happening, that the person is leaving the neshama is leaving this world, and there's a rebirth of this connection of the neshama to the Torah that it, I don't remember exactly, but just like that tunnel of when a person is dead until burial is like this very dark place, but I guess we're bringing the Torah until the neshama gets to the Torah and Shemayim, something like that. I'm just trying to connect.
Through the water. The water is somehow
right.
Going back into the womb, going back to that source of Bina, right, or the source of Torah knowledge that we had in utero. That's right. Really cool.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Shlomis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
So finally, she talked about water as being what was in existence before everything. At the beginning of creation, there was water. And that water is again like Bina, but it's where from which everything came. It's the beginning. It's the source. It's the root of everything. That's that we're using. That this lofty, inclusive water, which is the most essential of all elements, the beginning of all beginnings, where everything can be addressed, just like Teshuvah can address everything. We're going back to the highest place where there's nothing that it doesn't encompass. Back to the most essential of all elements. There's nothing higher. There's nowhere else to go. That's why we use water. The lofty, primary, covers all the multiplicity of a person's life that needs to be addressed and cleansed is in the water. So that's the power of water to cleanse. So I encourage you to listen to the shir. I'm happy to send it out again on the capacity of water and why we use water to purify. So it's the primary element of which the whole world was in existence before there was anything, was water, that it's the source of life, that it's the capacity for teshuvah, that it's the knowledge of God, that it's the rebirth, and that it's chesed. These are all the aspects of water. Okay, so as we know, a dead body is tameh. When we say tahorahi, remember just recapping what I said before, I don't want to miss anything. The nefesh still has some attachment to the body, and that's what we're purifying. We're purifying the nefesh. The neshama is high and goes up into higher places. The soul cleanly leaves its attachment to its body. The soul leaves its body behind to prepare for the next world. Like at the mikveh, the attendant says, kosher, kosher, kosher. There is a bas kol on high that declares the woman kosher. So too, the Chevra Kadisha declare the nifteris tahor. It's in our mouths to declare her tahor. No matter who she was or what she did, we are declaring her tahor, affirming and conferring upon her purity. No matter who she was or what she did, we are declaring her pure. affirming upon her purity after we have done everything the way we are supposed to do it. We are declaring her pure, original, untouchable state that never gets damaged in the world. The tahor state of the neshama can never be destroyed. Give life to the poor one. She's unique, perfect, and clean, and we restore the soul back to its original where it came, unique, perfect, and clean. The soul is always perfect. There's nothing, not a single thing that a person can do in life that has an impact on the purity and holiness of the soul. The neshama is always holy, it never gets damaged. It's the nefesh, according to the Marva Yabok, that we're cleansing. So we dress the nifteris in white tachrichim. White is the pure shining garments that I refer to in that pasuk that we say from Zechariah, made from linen. And she described linen. The process of creating linen means that you have to apparently you have to thresh it or you beat it or something to get out of it the purity of the flax. And there's something about the wovenness of the flax, of the linen, that this is the accumulation of life, is all the threads that are in the garments that we're dressing her in, that every thread is a thread of a person's life in the tachrichim, in the flax that had to get beaten, just like our lives are hard and we suffer and we have pain in us, that we use that to become pure. We use that to be better people. So that's what she said about the tachrichim, that it represents the bright light of good deeds and we elevate it to higher. So she also said, which goes back to the Toma Devora, where it talks about chesed of preparing the dead, is that there's an idea, or no, there's a pasuk in the Torah where God buries Moshe Rabbeinu, and he buries Moshe in the valley, and the word for valley in the Torah is Gai, a gimel and a yud. So the gimel and a yud have a gematria of 13. So Moshe is being buried in the Gai, in the valley, that represents the 13 attributes of divine compassion, that Moses is being buried in this highest of places, in the Gai, in the 13 attributes of divine mercy. And I don't want to other people do, but we twist the gartel, we twist that 13 times. And it's represented, it's analog. The idea is that we are bringing the nifteris as high as Moshe Rabbeinu, up to that 13 attributes of that place of the 13 attributes of divine mercy, that we have an intention that our nifteris that we're taking care of will go into the Gai, just like Moshe Rabbeinu did. So that, I think that's pretty powerful stuff, that God's help, that we're bringing her to a place that Moshe Rabbeinu went to. Let's see if I've got to the end of my notes here. Can
you just define the analog bit, because you're really underscoring the difference between an analog and a symbol.
Yes, and I think what she's trying to bring out is that it's not simple, it's actually doing it. You're actually doing something real. It's not symbolically, it's a actual, what happens down here happens up above. So I think when we twist it 13 times and we want to bring the nifteris to that 13 attribute, that we're actually doing that. I think that's what she meant to say. So and there's an idea that, so her words are the Chevra Kadisha are agents for the 13 attributes of divine mercy. That's what we're there for. We're there to bring her for real into that place of high divine mercy. So we use earth, we have to be buried in the earth. And she talked about being buried in the earth is the element that we have to be returned to. From earth you come, from earth you should be returned, because earth is the most humble of all the elements. And that the death came into the world because of the chait of Adam and Chava, that when they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they brought death into the world. And the rectification is to be buried in the earth, because the sin is predicated on pride and self, and doing something for one, being full of pride. It comes from a place of pride. And so the antithesis, the rectification for that sin, is to be buried in the earth. So the earth is the humblest. And when we decompose, full decomposition achieves a full submission to the divine will. That rectifies the sin of Adam and Chava that we're all paying back, right? So that's why we have to be buried in the earth. And the other thing that she mentioned is the sand from Israel that we all use in Chutz La'aretz. We all bury with sand from Israel. That she described sand from Israel having a very high capacity to purify and to cleanse. That the land of Israel is in its essence, a capacity to bring a kapara, that the sand and the land of Israel has a greater capacity to bring spiritual healing than any other earth. So we bring it and we put it on the plate. Wait, if you could just mute yourself if you're not muted. If we put it on the places that are the most susceptible to leading us astray, we put it on the eyes, we put the shard on the mouth, right? We put it on the heart and we put it on the genitals. These are all places that can lead us astray. So we put sand from Israel on those places because those are the places that need the greatest spiritual cleansing power. And that's what the sand brings. It brings this power of the land of Israel, which is unparalleled. She said Egypt has the same power, but I didn't follow up on her on that. But the land of Israel has a special purifying power to it that no other earth has. So that's why we bring it into Chutz La'aretz. If we're not being buried in Israel, we bring Israel to the Nifteres and we put it on these places that need the most cleansing. She also said that when you're buried in Israel, that being buried in Israel is akin to being buried in your mother's arms. That you're being buried under the altar of a very high place to be buried in Israel. I guess that's why people get their bodies shipped to Israel to be buried. So being buried in Israel is like being buried in our mother's arms. And we have that cleansing power when we put that sand on the Nifteres. Okay. When we die, says the Ma'avah Yabok, as we know, you can't see God and live. So the idea is that when we die, we see God, we see the 600,000 roots come to welcome the soul, one of its own, back into the heavenly realms. So that in the room with us, 600 root souls that are there to accompany us, accompany the soul of the Nifteres, goes on its journey to join back with its souls, to go back onto the heavenly throne. We are acting like the Leviim, carrying the Aaron, the body, the Aaron, trying to disperse and scatter and get rid of all the negative forces that the person did in their lives, and the Pesukim that we say. And she went through the different Pesukim. And again, I'm happy to send you my notes on that because it's too much to go through now, but she went through all the different Pesukim that can be said that bring a kavana of scattering the sins, of cleaning her up, bringing her to a pure state, bringing her to the heaven, up to the heavenly throne, up to this high place of the 13 attributes of divine mercy, cleaning off the schmutz, having this vision of Yehoshua, the high priest on Yom Kippur in shining garments. This is all what we're doing, what we're actually doing, and we're purifying, and we're dressing, and we're putting sand and we're putting them into the ground. Pesukim are full of power. So I'll just finish here. The Zohar says there is a force here. Hashem and his name is a protective and strong. Hashem fight for you and silent. Hashem will protect us when we are silent and can no longer speak for us. So the nifta is a state of duma, state of not being able to speak, can't advocate for themselves anymore. And there's no place more silent than the grave. So it is comforting to know that God is using his strength to take care of the nifta, and assuring that God will advocate for them and ensure the safety of the soul, and we don't have to do any more. And that's the last said, that God will accompany you, or God will take care of you, God will bring you up. And that's the last pasuk that we say at the end. So that's my synopsis of a lot of classes. There's a lot more. I really would love to hear from some of you, because I know some of you have also shared with me things that you've learned. And I think just putting them out is helpful for those that didn't listen or can't remember or want to bring that kavana to their fore. So I really love to hear from anybody who would like to unmute themselves and share anything that they learned from Yehuda Golshevsky. She gave 8 classes. I'm happy to send them out to you. But if anybody else has anything else they'd like to share, that would be really lovely.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
The idea of thank you. I'm from London at the moment. I'm usually from Israel. Would like to ask you, yes, because I work for both, not work, I am privileged to attend both Ashkenazi and Sephardim Taharot. And we, the Sephardim, I think I mentioned it before, we always say the Kiper Admato Amo, that the land will atone for its people. Do we say it? I know we don't say it in our own particular chevra, which is an amazing chevra in Edgware, but I'm just wondering, do we say it? Do you say it? Do other ladies use that actual pasuk? I think it's in the book of Devarim. Yes. And it's mentioned in, yes, it's mentioned in the prayers that we say at the end when we take Sefer Torah back, one of the techinot, one of the petitions, one of the, that we say, I can't remember exactly what it is because I'm always very late and catching up in shul.
We say it. We say the sand on. Every time we put the sand on, we say that. Anybody else?
You always say, okay. So, and that's an Ashkenazi. That's not that it makes any difference, but I'm just interested, we've got different minhagim. Yeah. Does anybody else? I'm interested to know.
Yes.
Yeah, because when I have said it, people ask me, what are you mumbling? And I now I say it out aloud rather than mumble.
In Los Angeles, we say it.
In Denver, we also say it.
Oh, Los Angeles, Denver, where else? I'd like to hear, I want to call on somebody. I don't know if that's okay to do, but not, is there any way I could get you to say something? Nadia. Yeah, I guess she's not. She
yes,
had to
Can you hear me?
Can we see you?
I don't know how. Sorry, I don't know how to do that.
At the bottom, there should be a video, and you can like unblock your videos. It'd be lovely to see you. But if you can't do that, that's fine. So Nadia's in South Africa, so I know she's been. I'd love to hear if you have any.
So can you hear me? At least can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me. So sorry, I don't know how to do the video.
Okay, no problem.
So sorry I entered your meeting so late, but we actually had work this evening. So, you know, I only was able to enter your meeting now. But I think just everything that you've said, it so aptly expresses what was in Rebbetzin Golshevsky's Shir or Shiurim. And for me, I think like my whole approach is to try and align the spiritual with the, and to manifest it in physical reality. So the words of all the Pesukim take on, you know, such huge meaning after one learns and internalizes their actual meaning. So I just want to say thank you so much for including me in all that literature and for definitely enhancing what I do. You know, I found it absolutely outstanding. It's turned something into such a manifest reality.
Nadia, is there any specific teaching that you think about now or that you have in mind when you walk in or you came from maybe 2 Taharas? Is there something specific that you can share with us that you think about now that you didn't think about before?
So I think firstly, and I think it's true for most people, just a revalidation of the fact that we are alive, and also so how much more so that we have the ability to deter, say for example, the clippers or the forces of negativity that try to attach themselves to the neshama or to the body. You know, that we can come in as a complete entity, body with a soul intact. So I make it like very much a reality when I'm standing there. Like I try and visualize it, that we are actually there, keeping these negative entities away, and just walking through the process with the mace. And the other thing that was very important for me was the actual, and you mentioned again the mitzvah of the throwing of the waters, you know, that we are actually like the physical manifestation of that we're literally doing the physical work for Hashem. And I think that's like one of the most important things for me. For the rest, you know, seeing the human body as supernal man and relating it to the 10 spheres. I've spent many years learning about that in a very sort of intellectual way. So not really being able to relate it to reality. So I think the serum have also made that a very real thing for me. So I often tend to stand on the right side. So, you know, I'm like very consciously aware. I'm on the side of Chesed. You know, this is the arm that this lady would give, or she'd hold with, or, you know, give tzedakah with. Like, I've never used to think like that. And I've also been able to blot out almost with complete success. I can't say it's perfect yet, but a conscious awareness of like eliminating extraneous thoughts, of like concentrating and focusing exactly on what I'm doing without my mind wandering. So it's often like very cluttered, and we have very, very stressful days, you know, working with you know, all these elderly residents and that, and it's so nice for me to like be able to like consciously force my mind to focus on the matter at hand. So in terms of like personal development, I think it's assisting me in self-mastery, which I can't say was true before I started this. So, and I think that's one of our goals in life, to actually master one's thoughts. And you mentioned the idea of the garments, thought, speech, action, which are higher than the soul even, because they're connected to the divine essence, the divine will of Hashem. So again, it just makes it a massive responsibility and privilege, as someone else mentioned. So, you know, I can't even say it. I mean, this is so unprepared, but this is the best I can say now.
Beautiful, really lovely. Thank you so much for sharing, Nadia. It's so nice to have you. It's so nice that you're part of this group. Golda, Golda, where are you?
Good evening. My name is Golda Halberstadt. I'm from London.
Oh, good.
I started, you said about the training. Well, I was trained more than 30 years ago by the lovely Rebbetzin Aaron Troy, Diane Aaron Troy's wife, together with on here Susan Koska, who's here this evening, or is it this afternoon to you? One of the memories, my earliest memories, was with Rebbetzin Aaron Troy compared and referred to Apostle Sefer Torah. And I've remembered that over these 30 years, how she's done that. I also feel when we enter the room, sometimes how it looks disturbed, her eyes look sad, and she looks like sorrows on her face. And by the time we've finished, she has that calm, beautiful, and she looks absolutely beautiful, like a Malka. And that's gone with me over the years, to see how beautiful they look. And it's very meaningful. That's it. That's my
beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Golda. That's really lovely. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all you do. Okay, anybody else want to speak up before we close the meeting? We're promised an hour, and here we are at an hour. But I'd love to hear from
Elisa.
Susan. Yes, Susan.
I sent you an email because I found something about what the subject we started talking about the hands.
Thank you.
And I've sent you an email which you might want to send out. I took a picture of the stuff from the book, and basically it is what we said, that the hands are clenched when we're born, as if to say the whole world is mine and I shall inherit it. But when we depart the world, they're spread open as if to say, I have to take nothing from the world. So nice. It's what we thought. But anyway, I've sent you that. So you might.
I want to just jump in from Toronto. I know you're so conscious of time and the way you do the class. I really appreciate it so much, because it's so elevated and answered so many things that I had been questioning, and give me great comfort. So I have a lot to say, but my perspective is really gratitude to you and Alyssa and everybody who's contributed, because everybody in London and all over the world, you're helping me here in Toronto. And the teaching is because I'm coming from a perspective of being a nurse and from having this own personal experience, and I'm always needing that. And I want to add that one thing that I also do, that I think this is how this all started with this Nishmat Kol Chai, and how we think about each limb and how we say that tefillah in the morning, the whole intentionality. So I really don't want to take any more time because I know the intentionality of this. I want to ask you if you can send out the pasukim maybe that you're talking about, the different verses that people say in different times, because I think this conversation is amazing. And what I'll leave with is the added thing about the womb, because I did a lot of labor and delivery nursing and also end of life nursing. So what I think, I can't remember, Shulamit, I think in Denver, did you say about the Hasidic tale? Well, the Midrash, I think, also continues about what you just said, that the baby comes out and kicks us in this part of our body. And that's why we have this little indentation. So our children who, because my husband's in the medical field, are probably the only people that know it's actually called the philtrum. So this is just the midrash and the edit, but the conversation, I really want to think it's elevated my whole practice, my intention. I great comfort that of the work that we're doing in we have chiyut. And so toda rabah, Shavua Tov. I just wanted to really add. And the summary today was amazing because I had to miss a few and I went back and listened, but thank you so much for the summary.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy to send it out.
Elisa, can I say one thing more before we end?
Golda, hold on one second. What I want to say is if anybody needs to leave, you're welcome to leave. And those who want to stay can stay. Like, this conversation is very rich and very necessary. So I don't want to actually cut the conversation off, but I do want you to know that if you'd like to leave or you need to leave, then you're welcome to do that. So that's all. So Golden, please.
My grandparents from Bratislava, Pressburg, they were also on the Chevra Kadisha, my grandfather and my grandmother, before they were murdered by the Nazis. But I know it was one of my grandmother's dearly loved job, what she did. And I feel very moved if she would know that I've followed her footsteps. It's quite moving for me to know that.
Yeah. Do you have children who followed in your footsteps?
No. I have children, Baruch Hashem, but not followed in the footsteps. Yeah. Not yet.
Oh, may I ask a question, Elisa? I didn't hear what the last lady, but not Golda, thank you very much, Golda and Susan, but the last lady said something very beautiful about the part of the body where we come from. I didn't get it. I'm sorry, I've got
the philtrum.
Oh, the fulcrum. Thank you.
The philtrum. It's PHILTRUM is the actual name of the indentation here. And the midrash is that when the baby came out, that
yes.
The Torah got kicked by the heel or whatever, something in that part.
Thank you. And can you spell it again? PHILT.
You have to look it up. Don't quote me, please.
I think what was trying to say though is that going inside of the Torah that happened to us when we were born then gets reversed by these waters that we throw on the Nifteris, that there's something in the life force of water that, or the das aspect of water, or some aspect of water that brings the Torah and God and all of that with the Nifteris on the soul's journey up. I think that was what you were saying, right, Shalamis?
Yes, because it's reversed in a sense, because when we're in the Rechem of our mother, we're told that we learn the whole of Torah, then we lose it. So it begs the question, why did we need to learn it if we're going to lose it? And it shows us that we have that that potential. That's really why it is there. We have to forget it when the angel touches you there. We have to forget it because it shows that we have the potential, we have it in us. And I think it's the same thing as well, relating how beautifully, really, you presented it so beautifully, Elisa, and everybody, whoever spoke, was just wonderful, really, very moving. I think when we go, it's the other way around, that, we Baruch Hashem, all the Torah that we learn goes with us.
Right.
Yes, it was
Maybe
very
it's the water. Maybe it's the water that helps us to bring back the Mayim Chayim, that brings back the Torah, which is life to us.
But it also connects us to our mothers and our mothers' mothers.
Yes.
And I think that part is so relevant to me when I was talking about as a nurse and being there when we're talking about the waters and the amniotic fluid and all that stuff. Yes. I'm going physiological. I'm actually visualizing experiences. And it's so amazing that this teaching has elevated for me that aspect as well. Because for instance, when we learn with the Rebbetzin Golshevsky about Adam, the Aleph and the Dam. Well, Dam now only in the last 10, 15 years of humanity, are we intellectually understanding what the Torah knew years ago on whatever level, that the Dam created all of vitality, all of the imprint of the generations before us. So when we're actually breastfeeding our children, the breast milk is exactly like the Dam, is exact component of the blood with all the vitality that brings us. And one thing I'll just add that's so fascinating, and this is to me is what's exciting, because who did you say, Golda, when you talked about your the loss of transmission? I feel so excited because I feel like we're getting back the transmission, that like how God is great, and the privilege that we have right now to be hearing your story in London about your grandmother, like we're elevating her neshama. It's so exciting, I think, for all of us, the technology that's allowing this forum, in addition to how you're presenting it, Alyssa. But the part that is so fascinating to me when I'm listening to the Kabbalistic interpretations, and I have studied a lot of Kabbalah, but the action that we're doing and the words that we're saying, it's all aligning what we're understanding in neuroscience right now. We understand that our thoughts and attentions really affect how people feel. We understand the science of it, but we also understand now in lactation consulting, because I did a whole advanced course on this, that the blood that we have as women, we have all the immunity of our whole life that we're transmitting to our children through our breast milk. And it's almost like we're saying the same thing on a Kabbalistic level, and that it gives us the vitality and the nourishment, but it really does. It really does. It's transmitted from mother, from the womb to the breast milk, and it's the generations before us, because we have the immunity from, like whether we unfortunately don't have the transmission of this knowledge, we still in the breast milk, I still have the immunity of a couple generations ago of all the antibodies, that was, well, I wasn't breastfed, but we won't go there. Anyways, I just wanted to add that piece, how amazing that is, because the consciousness in neuroscience is just coming in now in this century. And here we're talking about these ancient realms that it's just like, it takes a lot to process, but it's really amazing and beautiful.
There's an interesting conversation going on in the chat actually about whether we covering the face. So I don't know if you want to bring that out into the open, but it sounds like the idea that the face is always covered. In England, they cover the face, but I wonder, it's about the covering the sheet itself. When we uncover the sheet at the beginning, it's beginning to, like the sheet is a barrier, as a protective barrier, just like our prayers and our kavana and all the things that we're doing are a protective envelope around the nifteres, that the sheet is part of that. So as we uncover the body, as we uncover the nifteres, we're opening them up. So we got to be like mindful of that. And I think like all the more so the head, which is the highest aspect of who we are, to keep that covered as much as we can. Like, I think that seems to be fairly fundamental. What we all do is keep the head covered and elevated as much as possible, right? Isn't that what everybody does?
We keep the face covered.
I started with the question about, if there's a concern about soiling the face covering, do people ever do it last? We always keep the face covered.
Who's talking?
It's Elaine.
I'm sorry. Yes. Right.
We always keep the face covered, whether we put the tachrichim on first or last. The face is always covered.
Great. Okay, ladies.
Shalamis,
please.
No, I'm just curious. Like, everyone has different minhagim, and everyone's doing things differently. And a lot of the psukim that Rebbetzin Golshevsky went through, we don't say, and I never heard of. So I'm just wondering, like, is there like a universal, are all the possible things that can happen in a tahara, all the kedusha and all the psukim, like, can that happen like universally, even if we ourselves are not saying certain psukim or doing certain things that other chevra kadishas do? Like, I'm curious about that, just because so many of these sukkim are so meaningful. And you were saying how you twist the garzel 13 times. Like, we don't do that. We twist it. We twist
We
something.
do it, but I never knew why until today.
So Shulamis, one of the things that Yehudis Golshevsky repeatedly emphasized was that it's the kavana. The idea of the pesukim is to inject a certain kavana into us. So as we say the pesukim, we say them out loud, we hear them, we think about them, we're aware of them. It focuses us. So you don't have to have the pesukim, according to what she was saying, in order to be focused. But the idea is to be focused on
the intentionality,
the beauty of the body parts, or the waters of Rabbi Akiva, bringing Tahora and saying, I'm assuming you say Tahorahi, like I imagine everybody must be saying Tahorahi. That seems to be like a standard thing that we all must say. But I don't know, but it sounded like she's saying whether or not you say the pesukim, the goal is the kavana of the Chevra Katisha.
And that's Shulamit, that's kind of what I was saying about neuroscience now. We know that thoughts and intentionality are what really count, not actually the words that you're saying. If you're missing the intentionality and that's, and that's, to me, makes it very meaningful to learn the text personally. But I think it's exactly saying that. And I learned that a little bit in Toronto, that I think, because we have a once a year thing, I've got information. I think the Chicago Rabbinical Council set some standard in North America, and some of the bigger places take that on. But I think some of the smaller cities, like out west, like I just know somebody who was in California, had to gather Chevra Kadisha. There's all different places. People have talked about it here, that you do the best that you can in the situation. So I personally think that's partly what's very comforting to me about all of this. Like, if we're there doing that, wow, it makes a huge difference. Like, that's what the text, whether we say the exact words or not, and the intellectual, but I think we're gaining this knowledge back. Like, now you'll bring it back, and then you'll add it, and next generation
or not.
You'll do
We're not trying to change people's minhagim.
Exactly.
We're not changing people's minhagim.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She was representing about the intention.
Okay, so the point of this community of practice, this community of Gadisha women, is create a community, and I feel like we have a beautiful community, and there are 300 people right now on our mailing list. So please share the wealth and give me ideas of what we could be talking about next. What could our next conversation be? What could our next learning be? I'll put it together. I just need some more ideas.
I think what everybody was talking about on the chat, everybody was talking about the visiting before and after. I think there were a lot of differences. That might be a subject I think we can talk about, because my experiences were very different than what other people wrote in London.
Okay, so everybody email me or email address, or you can WhatsApp and put it on the WhatsApp chat. Let's talk on the WhatsApp chat. If you're on the WhatsApp and you want to be, please join that. Like 150 women on that. And let's just keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
And
can I ask
Miriam? I had a question. It's it feels off topic, but obviously nothing is off topic. About I just recently done somebody that I really knew well, and I did a tahara, and it was like I called it like this was not a tahara. This was me being there for this girl, for this neshama that I know so well. So I saw the difference, the discrepancy between somebody that I was doing a tahara for that was like felt so close versus kind of like a stranger. And I approached, and I just felt that such a difference. And I'm like, how do I bridge this gap? How do I approach a body and say, I know you, even if I don't? Like I want to gift you, and I want to be there for you, not just in an idea sense of like I'm spiritually helping you, but in that feeling of like I'm connected. And that was my question in my recent experience.
Does anybody want to answer that?
I think when you go in, you think of this person, she's somebody's mummy, somebody's grandma, she's somebody's loved ones, and that's how you feel. You feel to them, and you look upon them as if it was your, depending on the age, grandmother or mother, and that's how we feel connected, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, I think, may I say that I agree with Golda 100%. I understand what the lady has said, because you do feel a little bit differently towards somebody you know personally that you've loved. But I think I'm just repeating it, but maybe a little bit differently, that if we believe with all our heart that we're all equal, we all have one father, as the prophet, I think it's Habakkuk said it, I'm not sure, we all have one father. We're all related. It's not even a matter of being somebody else's mother or daughter or whatever it is, chas v'sholom, but it's my family, it's somebody I know, and I empathize with that person. I'm with that person at the moment. I feel I've lost a member of my family, God forbid, lo aleinu. But that's how I get over that, because that was a very, it touched me what the previous lady said. I'm so sorry, I'm so busy writing notes that I don't always look at names. Not Golda, but the lady before Golda, when she had the question. I went through that myself. So thank you for bringing it out.
Yeah.
Flora, sorry, yeah. Elisa, it's quite interesting, this point, because tomorrow morning I'm doing a tahara with 3 other ladies, one of whom we've got 3 taharot actually, and she knows the person, the third Nifteret, and it'll be, it's quite interesting that she's coming to do the others as well. And I wonder how her mindset will be, feeling she's doing the other 2 and then there's the one that she knows.
And that's really just to feel that everybody is, they're but for the grace of Hashem go out. We're alive and we're able to do this very humbling tafkid that we have, that, very humbling and very enriching, and all the amazing things that you've learned today, really, Yotze min haklal be'emet. Really, I feel I want to cry, because
I want to just add
with the Sefirot, I've learned about the Sefirot like you. I've tried to, when it comes to Sefirot, Omer, and each week, and I've done diagrams. I've looked. Elisa, you put it so beautifully. Thank you so much. All right, maybe I'm sure it's from the Rebbetzin as well, but you transmitted it beautifully, and that's very important.
Yes,
thank you.
I know Joan had something to say.
I think that,
Joan, are you still there? Do you want to say
yes,
something?
I'm here. There are certain universals that are with every Jewish woman. We talked about the neshama is pure, and everybody in their life had their struggles between the purity that they were granted and, the realities of life that they had to struggle with. So I think that there are things that we feel for everyone, whether we know them or not. We know their experience in a way because it's universal.
Yes.
I wonder if I could bring up a separate topic for a minute.
Yes, Liba.
Okay, so I feel very much like we are not only the people who are taking care of the Kara Kadisha, taking care of the specific terrace, but we're sort of the guardians of the dead, for lack of a better word. We want the best for them. When I'm holding an terrace, I feel like she's close to me. And I feel like if I miss an Iftaris, then, or if I know an Iftaris is not getting what she deserves, it really, really hurts. And I was just looking on NASC and everything and seeing how tremendous the amount of people is that are getting cremated. And there are 2 problems with that, for that. There's 1, ignorance, and 2, desire. What really hit me and really has me literally crying sometimes about this is there was a 70-year-old man that I met. He wanted, we had been in a meeting. He wanted to give me a hug. I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm an Orthodox Jew. He said, oh, my grandparents, they were so Orthodox, they moved to Mea Shearim. They gave me $50 to kiss the mezuzah, I think. And yet this guy did not know that cremation was against halacha. He knew that Jews with tattoos can't get buried, but in a Jewish cemetery. But he had no idea that.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's why I put my quotes. I told him very clearly, tattoos and suicides are among the rest of us, to the right and to the left of us, not ostracized in any way. But I don't know, I know this job is the National Association of Chevra Kadisha because it's Parshas Vayechi. Rabbi Zon sent out a letter for ways that rabbis could talk to their community and bring up some of these things. But it might be helpful for the rest of us if you look on nask.org. And also, I'm from Baruch Hashem, a very big family, and we are Baruch Hashem. We went through our ups and downs. We're almost all from, but I have at least one sister who is not from at all. And she tells me this is coming from, she was brought up in a from community, whatever, and with love and she told me she knows it's not going to happen, but if she had her choice, she would be cremated. Like, you never know what your close ones are thinking. So
right.
Also,
I think
another thing is
this class that we had today really covers a lot to make a desire to do it the right way. There's a lot of good information that makes feel that it's special, that it's something good to do.
Right. So I think that that's a huge topic, Liba, and I'm actually going to close the meeting now because I have to go. But I want it to be. I want this community of practice to be about the practice of Tahara and us as practitioners, us as people who bring women to burial and our role in that. And I know it's a big topic to talk about cremation and for people to not be cremated and to work on that. This community of practice, I'm really trying for it to be our practice, what we do, how we do it, how we feel about it, how we connect with each other about it, how we think about it when we wash our friends. And I'd actually like to just address that idea or the reality of washing our friends. I've washed a number of very close people to me, and I cried all the way through it. And somehow there's like, can I take that energy and bring it to everybody? And I don't think I can, but I'd like to. So it's, instead of, and I liked what Flora said about everybody's, we're all connected to everybody, but the reality is that we are more connected to our best friends when they die, or our Rebbetzins when they die, or different people that we've had the schus to wash, and our practice is that much more focused, and we say our prayers with that much more kavana, and I want to be able to do that for everybody. That go the other way, like bring that experience to everybody. So
the desire to do it. The desire to do it is already elevating it. It's beautiful.
Right. So I love you all, and I'm so happy. And please stay in touch, and I will send the video out. And I'm really happy that you gained so much from it, and we'll continue to raise our boats and continue to stay in contact with each other and to mechazik each other. So thank you.
I'm sorry. I left what I was saying till the end because I didn't want it to turn into.
It's very important, Liba. It's not like I'm not making. It's not that it's important, but the NASC is taking care of that. This is about Chevra Kadisha's work in the morgue and taking care and doing Tahara.
But just that it was the right parsha that they're doing it. I figured.
Absolutely.
That was. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
I thank you too. All right. Good night, everybody.